Why did the chicken cross the road?
Hi, I'm Selena,
And I'm Carmen.
and today we are here to talk about why you're paying more for that plate of chicken rice.
Apparently the chicken has stopped crossing the road because Malaysia has recently imposed a ban, and so starting from 1st of June, we no longer have fresh chicken in Singapore.
Central banks have hiked interest rates. Why is inflation still rising? Now, I think the main thing to note is that central banks hike interest rates, that only dampens demand. But actually, a lot of the inflation that we see today are supply-side related. With the pandemic and the COVID-related lockdowns in China, we have port congestion and workers' inability to travel freely. That actually drove up costs further. So net-net, I think we have to realize that higher interest rates will not solve all the supply-side problems.
Stocks have generally taken a beating. Is this a good time to buy? In terms of valuation worldwide, most markets have corrected quite sharply. In fact, some markets have actually seen double-digit decline, and by normal definition, that is actually already a severe correction. So, in terms of valuation, markets are actually looking quite attractive. However, sentiment remains quite weak, and as Selena said earlier on, we're talking about supply chain disruption, we're talking about inflation, and that will still continue for a couple of months. So, we'll look for maybe perhaps opportunity on weakness to actually buy back into the market.
Is Singapore a safe haven compared to regional or even global stock markets, Carmen?
The Singapore market has outperformed the regional market, largely because of the fact that we have a high concentration of financial and real estate companies. And this year, of course, the financial stocks have done very well, whilst the rest of the markets perhaps have actually suffered from the impact of inflation and supply chain disruption, as Selena said earlier on. So as a result of which, Singapore in this instance is actually a lot more defensive than other markets. Steam or roast? Personally, I prefer roasted chicken because I think that actually enhances taste.
I also prefer roasted chicken. I have it every Sunday for my lunch. How does food security impact us? Food security has been a growing concern because recently we have seen more countries basically implement export bans on certain key food products. So we are quite careful, that this may actually trigger a domino effect because more and more countries try to rush for supplies. They will drive up prices, and if there's some hoarding that's taking place, then it actually means that food inflation is going to go a little bit more crazy from here. I think the better thing to do would be for countries to cooperate and to share their supplies.
How can investors protect themselves against inflation? One of the key things that people generally use to fight inflation is, of course, commodity and gold. But having said that, both have done very well this year. I think another good asset class to look at is perhaps real estate, and that's also something that has, in the longer term, a good hedge against inflation.
At this juncture, we are a little bit cautious on the macroeconomic fundamentals, mainly because central banks are very aggressively tightening rates. And we also see, investors trying to price in the possibility of a hard landing for major economies like the US and China. So I would say that a defensive posture would probably be advisable, at least for the next 3 to 6 months, until we get some clarity. How would you solve the chicken crisis? The easiest way to solve the chicken crisis is eat less chicken. Switch to other types of non-chicken products. Like I said, eat more vegetables and fruits, probably good for you. Eat less meat, and it's good for the environment.
Singapore has actually diversified the sources of our vegetables, meat. If you're prepared to even eat frozen items, these are actually still quite readily available in the market. In summary, as the world heads into a higher interest rate and higher inflation environment, it is only prudent to be a bit more careful about stock selection and also to stay clear from one single sector focus. That's all for today. So Selena, what do economists eat for lunch?
Economy rice, cai fan, instead of chicken rice.